Welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible podcast. Today we're going to be looking at compound interest, exploring everything around it. As you know, the last episode was saving, how to generate a baseline of savings. Today we're looking at compounding that into the next thing.
Today you'll learn more about what is good compound interest and what is bad. We're talking about, investment shares, ETFs versus credit cards, personal loans, and late fees, which a lot of people nowadays know too much about. So sit tight, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible podcast. Zeke here.
And your co-host Oscar. But before we get into it, please note that nothing in this podcast should ever be considered as personal financial advice.
Although, if financial advice is what you are seeking, let us know. We can get you in touch with the correct team.
But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Let's get into it. As you heard in the trailer, we're going to be jumping into compound interest today. So, first of all, simply put, let's define it, right? Let's jump straight into the definition. It's basically interest or growth on top of interest or growth. So, I actually had to explain this to a good friend of mine the other day and how it works. You have your initial amount of money that you put in, let's say $100. That $100, if it generates, say, 10% return, or 10% interest rate, 10% growth, you then have, after a year, $110. Now, the next year you don't have 120. You don't get the 10% on your original amount again. You still get 10%, but now you get it on the new amount, the $110, because you now have growth occurring on that extra $10 that you made last year. So now you have $121. Then the next year, that 121 grows as opposed to your original 100 again. You get those additional funds and so on and so on and so on.
And that is the positive compound interest. Now let's talk about the negative. Everyone listening, you probably, once in your life had a credit card or personal loan or even Afterpay. But so for example, let's say you've got $1,000 on your credit card, which you haven't paid off, you are struggling to pay, and that compounds at 20%. So that compounds into 1.2 and then 1.44 and so on. So over time, you're actually owing more money because it's a negative compound interest because it's debt that you don't want. So it does go both ways. It can help you if you invest it and do it correctly, but it can also restrict you as well and actually put you further down the debt cycle and prevent you from actually growing your financials, because it's a very important thing you need to take care of because it can make or break your financial goals.
It's literally exponential too. Like, the numbers do not stop growing. It's just compounded. And obviously, as you're aware, the further it goes on, the further impact it has. So for example, if you originally had your $100 and now after 10 years you have, say, $400, then you now grow on the $400. You're making more already than what you were in year one, realistically. So it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, never ending, or it's costing you that much. A wise young man.
Yes,
He's
I saw.
not very young actually, but he
Great
was
quote.
he was wise and he was young at one point.
Yes.
Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it. Those who don't pay it.
And a lot of people don't understand it. Probably 80% of the population, I reckon, don't understand compound interest.
Exactly, yeah.
And they just get themselves in crippling debt. And then once you're in crippling debt, mentality, it's a struggle. And then your financials, it's a struggle. So getting out of that is tough. But lucky you have us.
Yeah, and on that note too, actually explaining that for shares, because I actually got hit with this question from a client the other day. When you have funds invested in shares, for example, and you can see each day they go up 1% or down 0.3% and then up 0.5% and so on, that figure is on the new figure daily. So if it's going up 10% in one day from $100 to 110, and then that day it goes down 9%, you're going to find it's going to be similar to what it was originally because it's 9% of a higher amount of money. And then the next day, just a new example here. So it's going up 1%, 1%, 1%. 3 days in a row from $100, it's not actually going to be $103 because it's not 3% on 100 each day. So
Yeah, it
on
updates.
day one, it's on the 100. On day two, it's now on the 101. And then on day three, it's on the new amount, which would be like 102 point something.
And then it might drop.
Yeah. So
And that's probably why as well, you shouldn't, if you do have shares invested, don't look at them every single day because you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And you don't want that to, make your overall day a horrible, negative, bad mood. So shares are always going to go up and down. But overall, if you do it correctly, you probably will be better off over the long term.
exactly. And on the positive negative side of things, you can always take things from a negative and turn them into a positive. As another
Is that a
wise young
pitbull
man
quote?
did say, it is the Marco
Yes.
Perez. So things that are working for you, what are they? Realistically, you've got shares, ETFs, property, superannuation, savings. It could be reinvesting dividends or rental income to get capital growth or to re-enter the market and dollar cost average.
Yeah, and simply put, the earlier you start using these, working for you parts, the less you need to contribute later on when you're 30, 40, 50. Now, let's talk about working against you. We touched on it just before. So the main ones really are credit cards, personal loans, and, late fees. These add up over time. And as mentioned just before with the 20% credit card interest rate, they will come from you and all of a sudden you'll look at your credit card bill and you've probably got another thousand, $2,000 that you now have to owe. So if you make the minimum repayments, you are compounding backwards. So for example, $5,000 credit card debt at 19%. So that's around $11,000 in 5 years if ignored. So that's a lot of money. 11 grand in 5 years is a lot of money. And if you don't actually take account of your credit card debt or just miss the repayments, good luck paying that 11 grand off before you actually start investing or saving.
It is crazy the level of snowball effect when it comes to compound interest. It's like if you if you eat shocking and don't exercise for 5 years, every day gets worse, obviously. Then when you start, every day is hard,
Well, it's like,
like when you're
yeah,
starting.
it's like, it takes you so long to get fit and then you just can stop your fitness and stop your workout. And then all of a sudden you just turn lazy and, put on a bit of weight again.
Yeah, very hard to come back from that. And or if you're going the other way, 1% better every day,
Yeah.
that's more than 365% better a year because it compounds.
And with credit cards, like if you're in the process of actually applying for a credit card or you're excited for the prospect of it, because I was very excited back when I got my first credit card, you need to look at the interest rate because that is in the fine print. You probably don't look at it at the time when you do it because you're thinking to yourself, you will be paying this off as soon as you spend it, like transferring back to your card. But I guarantee there'll be moments when you buy something and you can't necessarily afford it, so you put it on your credit card. And then over time, that adds up because you haven't made the repayments, etc. So, highly recommend looking in the fine print and just making sure, worst case scenario, if you were missing a couple of payments, will it affect you long term? Because that is, the recipe for a disaster. It's make or break.
Big time. And what we're going to do now is we're going to spend the next 5, 10 minutes looking at actual studies, actual compounding, actual interest calculations or growth calculations, and
Yes.
figure out what actually occurs and how it works. So Oscar and I actually we've come up with a couple of different ones, and then we're going to freeball and or freestyle,
And
I
this
should
is
say.
from the Money Free Ball.
I was going to say
Nice.
spitball,
Free Ball.
freestyle,
That is a
and
good
it
way
turned
for
into
a Friday morning.
freeball. But
Well, what is this? Yeah, MoneySmart compound interest calculator. So we are using MoneySmart compound interest calculator. We mentioned this on our last episode when we were together. Highly recommend MoneySmart. It is fun activity, interactive tool you can play with. But I'll start here. So for example, I've done two scenarios which are very realistic and very achievable. So I have got a individual, they've just turned 20 years old and they want to slow down or retire at 60. So they have 40 years. They have $1,000 gifted to them and they put that into, let's say, an ETF, for example, or just for make it simple, the shares returning around 8%. So for this initial deposit of $1,000, for the next 40 years, they only put in $100 per week, which is very achievable, especially if you're on a full-time wage. So fast forward 40 years, when they get to 60 years old, that balance is now $1.5 million. So just from interest alone over the 40 years, they've made 1.3 mil just from interest.
So easy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
In year one, that would have been virtually nothing. In year
Yeah.
two, it would have been nothing. In
But
year
over
three, it would
the
have been
long
nothing.
term, like imagine just sitting back, you've automated your investments of $100 a week. And then, yes, 40 years is a while away, but you hit 60 and you look into your shares and you're like, oh, geez, thank you, 20-year-old me.
Yeah, I
So,
like to describe the graph when you're looking at this as like a swing set. So at the bottom,
mm,
when you got like little 2-year-olds on a swing and they're like at the very bottom, they're just going back and forward like maybe 1 centimeter each way or
yeah,
10 centimeters each way. And then all of a sudden, when you start really getting that power behind it, it goes like nearly in a straight upward motion and can even then flip around the top if you're doing it powerfully enough. That's
right,
what this graph looks like. It's going very, very slow, no real change, and then all of a sudden there's
bang. Yeah,
dramatic.
literally from year 25 onwards, that's when it really pushes up. So this one here, at age 60, 1.5 overall, interest gets you 1.3 alone, which is awesome. So let's flip the switch. Let's say you start learning about, financials at your late 20s and you kind of want to get into shares or investing when you're 30. So let's delay this by 10 years and only have a 30-year timeline. So we're doing the same deposit of $100 a week. We've got the same initial deposit of $1,000, but overall, when you are 60, as a not as opposed to 1.5 mil, you're only getting $656,000 all up. So you're almost losing $1 million just because you've delayed it 10 years. And number one, you had the total interest of 1.3, but with the alternative method, delaying 10 years, you only got $500,000 of interest, which is a massive difference.
That's huge.
So just delaying your investing by 10 years can cost you almost $1 million over the long term.
And these first two examples that Oscar and I are doing, they're going to be targeted at a younger demographic. Then we're going to go into the more stabilized cash flow heavy kind of, your mum and dad, a
Mm.
couple of children, probably both working a job
Yeah, these are
kind of scenario.
for, individuals who may still be in school or just finishing or trying to
Early 20s, mid
get
20s.
their life sorted in their 20s and 30s. So yes, $656,000 when you're 60 or for 30 years is still good. Like you're still making 500 grand from compound interest, but you could have made 1.3 mil from compound interest. So it's just 10 years is a long time. And in terms of monetary values, it's a big difference.
Exactly. And I'm going a similar thing, but a little bit different here. So
Yeah.
we actually didn't discuss this prior. So it's very interesting
Yeah,
to
I had
see
not
what we've done.
seen your graph has a big
Um,
spark at the end though. Probably, yeah,
it
probably a bit
does.
steep in the mark.
The point of this one is I'm going to be talking about people who their parents either A, give them a lump sum at some point, like they might have been charging you rent or something, and then they give it back to you. That might be that you're in the unfortunate, fortunate position where you've had someone pass away and you've got a little bit of inheritance. You might get a gift from someone over many years and save it throughout 0 to 18. It could even be that from 0 to 18, you were just saving while you're working or earning some money doing chores around the house and it built up over time. But we're just going to say it built up to 15 grand or you've inherited 15 grand or whatever it is, whatever's happened. Okay. Because I know a lot of people in that scenario that have, 15, 20 grand in their early years, like teenage in school or even 2021. So we're going to assume that you're going to uni and you don't really have a huge amount of income. So you're just throwing the 15 grand into something and you've got a $50 deposit weekly going in. You might be doing 2 or 3 shifts a week at Macca's or something and you still get your fun money.
It's $50 a week is very achievable.
Oh, yeah,
Even if
absolutely.
you're on, yeah, like 50, 60 grand a year.
Yeah, big time. We're running the same interest rate and everything, 8%, like it's in shares or something. But 40-year calculation, $50 a week, 15 grand initial deposit from the inheritance. So realistically, I just want to go straight to year 10 because we're going to see that not much is actually really happening here. So you're now only at 72 grand after 10 years, which I mean that is actually a lot more than you would think because you put in 15 grand and then $50 a week for 10
And it's
years,
just
which
because we're
is
looking at the end game there at the 40 years, which is a lot more.
yeah, correct. So after that 10-year period, your interest has nearly returned 32K. You've contributed your 15K initially and then 26K by $50 a week over 10 years. If we fast forward that the whole way now, because as I said, the graph starts growing exponentially, like that swing, you get to a point where you've got 1.12 million in there after 40 years from only $50 a week. So that's not even assuming that you hit 25, 30, 40, and you're on a proper income, you start bumping that up. That would make a huge change at that point in time and drastically grow it even further. But your interest then is 1 million of that. So you've only contributed 120 grand over 40 years. Very achievable. Now, the alternative is just $100 a week instead of 50. So still very achievable. And the difference there is about 650 grand, give or take, in terms of interest generated. But then if you go in terms of your deposits, it's another 104 grand because you're doubling it. The previous one was 104. So you get to just shy of 1.9 million from $100 a week and a 15 grand initial investment. So the point of me talking about that one is saying, hey, even with a very small amount of income, a very small amount of regular contribution, because per week everyone can do it, right? It's not much, $50 or $100.
Well, people spend $200 on a night out.
Exactly. Which I'm going to get into too. I've got a fun one to do there. But realistically, don't waste your inheritance, is what I'm saying here. Or if you've been put in a position where when you move out, your parents give you all the rent that you paid over the years to you to invest or use as a home or something, then don't just go and blow it on a holiday. Don't go blow it on a new car. This can make a huge difference in your long-term life. And me saying don't blow it, again, not financial advice, but don't blow it. Don't do it.
He's passionate.
Now, as promised, we'll do something for the people that are more stable, set up, maybe not our younger listeners. So if you're between probably 15 to 25, this may not apply to you too drastically, but it's going to, assuming you're lucky and you make the gauntlet through to that point in time.
Let them know what numbers you're popping in, mate.
That's okay. It's all part of the fun. So realistically, we know that as you get older, you get higher wages, right? You have more time where you're working because you're not in school anymore. You've done your studies. You've probably gone to uni or trades college or whatever you've done, and you're now on a decent income, right? So at that point in time, if it's you and a partner and you both have decent income, then you're probably able to do something like $400 a week. Because if you're doing a mortgage, guess what? It's going to be more than that. It's going to be 700, 800, 900, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,200 per week. And we're going to have a bit of a shorter time frame now because we're going to be probably 30 years old.
So look at 30 years till 60. Yeah, probably a reasonable time.
And then what we're going to do is two separate calculations. We're going to say you have an initial deposit of 20 grand because you're about 30 years old is what we're going to say here. You may be later, you may be earlier. Depends on your scenario with your partner or your significant other. But let's say you've got a 20 grand initial deposit and you're doing $400 per week now invested. Over 30 years, you end up at $2.8 million. So that's 60. That's preservation age. You can access your super. You can retire, realistically. Initial deposit, 20 grand. Over that 30-year period, your $400 per week is 624 grand. 2.158 million of it is interest.
Wow.
2.158 mil from 400 a week between you and your partner. Or if it's just you, 400 a week might be a bit difficult, but
imagine
that's okay.
Making 2.1 mil
from nothing.
Yeah, literally just for investing $400 a week.
I know a lot of clients
$200 a week.
Don't have to imagine that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The alternative to that is, what if you're on a bit higher income than this scenario? Okay, so you might be able to do between you and your partner again 700 per week. You end up at 4.73 million, 3.6 mil in interest. Just chilling.
Insane numbers, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you're not paying a mortgage, yeah, that's an easy way to do it. Or if you are and you've done it well, or you're renting or whatever, your rent might be lower than your mortgage. Like if you live in Sydney, for example, your rent might only be 1,000 a week,
It's just
as opposed to your mortgage being two or three.
it's just delayed gratification. Like obviously, as you mentioned, for the first 10, 15 years, not much is moving. Like you're probably looking at your account and being, telling yourself, oh, why am I putting all this money in when I'm not getting that much back right now? But it feels slow at first. And then suddenly, from year 25 to 30 in this instance, it suddenly becomes rapid and the growth is real. So the early years, to most people, feel quite unrewarding, but they are crucial for building this over time. If your goal is using this money at 6 years old, these early years are absolutely crucial. And you have to remember that your long-term goal when you're actually, grinding this out for the next 20 years or so, because there are going to be days when you're thinking to yourself, should I just pull this money out and spend this on a holiday? But you've got to dig deep and just remember that you've done the calculations yourself. You want to end up on the $4 million mark, and that will make your mindset and your life a lot easier.
Exactly. And just to give you perspective, year one on this scenario, the one that gets you to 4.8 mil, is only 3,000 in interest generated. Year two is only 9,000 in interest generated. If we jump forward to year 15, it's 549,000 generated. So it goes up 500,000 in 15 years. And the difference from year one to two is 6 grand. The difference from year two to three is 10 grand. The difference from three to four is about 12 grand. So it just grows and grows and grows. And then when you get to the very end, the difference between year 29 and year 30 is about just shy of 400,000 in 1 year.
Yeah.
So it just
That's when the craziness comes into play.
Yeah. Now there's two more calculations that I want to do. One of which, very simple. We're going to do zero deposits. We're going to have an interest rate of 20%, and
Uh-oh.
we're going to have an initial deposit of 5,000. Now you're probably thinking, what? What do you mean we're just going to have a 5,000 deposit, a 20% interest rate, and 10 years of nothing occurring? Well, we're not talking about making money here.
This is
We're
never.
talking about you've got a credit card, it's owing 5K.
As soon as you pop the 20% in, I knew exactly what was going on.
There we go. 20% interest rate, which is about right, and a 10-year period. Realistically, guess what? Year one, all good. It only is $1,000 in interest. Wow. Year two, it's another 1,400. And then as we go on and on and on, guess what? By year four, you've doubled your debt. You're now at 11,000 instead of 5. And if we go all the way to year 10,
Oh,
so you've just been making the
jeez.
minimum repayments, just hoping for the best. Guess what? You end up at a sum of $36,000.
All from 5 grand.
Yeah.
So you've literally added, you haven't added, you've erased $30,000 more. So that is the other side of compound interest and the negative side of why you need to not max out your credit cards and pay them back on time.
Yep. The final calculation is for our young
Oh,
listeners. This is going to be
this is a
fun.
good one. I'm actually keen to look at this.
So let's just run through. I'm going to get back to like my early 20s, or actually maybe not like early 20s because I was very, very money savvy. Actually, there was some periods where I had some fun. Let's go. You and I, prime time Rose Bay 21, right?
Yeah.
A week on drinks. What do you reckon? Maybe like
Whole
150,
week. I can do, for
200,
this, do 200.
200 a week on drinks.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if a lot of the listeners would hit 200 a week on drinks. Let's just
200.
say they go out every Saturday night.
200. Like if you
Oh,
are,
200 on one night is normal, to be fair.
I think that's actually quite cheap these
Yeah,
days.
because a Jameson and Coke's $20 on a night out nearly.
At least,
You
yeah,
double
10 of
pump,
those.
that's 40 in one sesh. You have at least 15.
Mm.
We're at 300.
Yeah,
And then you've got
keep 200.
Ubers, so we're now at 400. And then you've got,
Food, I always eat.
I've been good with that lately, but back then I would love a little bit of food on the way, but probably 450 to 700 on a night out.
Yeah, right.
It's
So
ridiculous.
we'll do
by the way.
200. We're not going to do 700 on a night out. That is just insane.
It's annoying. Hey, yeah, this is why we don't go out anymore.
Actually,
It's just ridiculous.
health and financials.
Yeah, that's confirmed. So 200 on a night out. Okay, so that's 1 week, and then you probably have Let's change it to monthly. Let's make it real easy. So 200 a week on a night out. Let's say you only go out twice a month. So we're at 400 a month. Subscriptions. Everyone would have Netflix. There's another
Let's just
18 a
say,
month.
yeah,
So we're at
20.
418. What other subscriptions do people have? They have
Well, you've got
probably Amazon.
you've got heaps. You've got Amazon, Disney, Netflix. Yeah, I reckon you could do more than $20 a month.
Oh, easily. Even I
What
could
about
do.
$50?
And then you got Spotify as well.
KO.
KO. Oh, we're never at 490 because that's like
Yeah, I reckon round up to 500. I reckon that's a good number.
so 500 just going out in subscriptions. What else do people to spend money on? Maybe a quick $20 on sports bet a week. So maybe 580.
Cool. I was going to say go to the booze, get some booze, but that's a night out.
Yeah, we'll include that in the
Takeaway food during the week.
takeaway. Yeah, maybe just every Sunday they get Uber Eats,
What's
$50.
that? Yeah, 30, $50.
Yeah, so 4 times a month would be another 200, so 780. If any of these behaviors are sounding familiar, by the way, you're about to be in for a shock. What else do we have? Maybe what else do people do? A coffee
Coffee, going
coffee
out
every
to
day?
brekkie maybe once a week.
Your coffee, $5 a day, 5 days a week, 25, 4 weeks in a month. We're another 100. So we're now at, let's call it 880, give or take. What else is
That's
there?
probably most
Maybe
of your, like you've got
maybe a lunch at work once a week.
Friday lunch,
Friday lunch, yeah,
$30.
$30. So another 120 over the month, which gets us to 1,000. Let's just
Probably a
leave
good
it at
number to leave it at.
that's a good number, nice and easy. And we're going to say 30-year time period. I'm going to say growing at 8%. Holy smokes. This is a ridiculous figure. So this is what that spending per month could turn into if you just dial it down. Just dial it down. That's all it is. And we're going to run a conservative one as well for those who are a bit more budget friendly. We'll start off with a budget friendly one.
I don't know.
So if you're 500 a month on spending, guess what? You've lost 745 grand in 30 years.
Which is ridiculous.
565,000 in interest, and over that 30-year period, you spent 180 grand on drinking, Uber Eats, gambling, and coffee. Pretty much.
It's just rough.
That is tough, and that's not even like they're not even ridiculous figures.
I think this is a lot of people. Like,
I think this is like the normal.
yeah, this is probably like including us as well in this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair, I don't have coffee, but yeah, I got more subscriptions.
We did yesterday, and you had to
Yeah,
use
that
the
was
toilet.
chaos. And then we've got the proper method, the 1,000 a month, which is only 250 a week, mind you.
Mm.
1.5 million nearly.
That is, so what's that? 1.1 just in interest.
Well, there you go. Maybe think about their spending habits a little bit. And
Yeah, like a
small
$5
changes,
coffee.
big results.
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it is.
I take coffee.
I drink coffee every morning, but that's because I like draw back on other expenses. I don't really go out much these days.
Yeah, I didn't even
You know, just people come around or go for a walk.
I didn't
or go to
even throw
gym.
the gym or anything in there. That's 100 a week for me straight away.
Yeah, yeah, gyms are expensive these. Well, depends what gym you go to, but
Yeah, but the cost of going to the gym is cheaper than the cost of not going to the gym.
yes. And if you go to the gym, you're probably more health conscious, so you don't go out drinking as much.
Yes. Yes. Very
So,
much.
there's pros to it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then if you throw for the older people, childcare and stuff, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
childcare sounds
Just
ridiculous.
just children, 100,000 a year.
Yeah, especially when they get older and older.
Yeah. But yeah, realistically, humans don't think about exponential growth. They don't see the future. They don't think about delayed gratification. It's always now, 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 now.
Yes, because we've got everything in front of us. That everyone's like, everyone's attention span is just so swayed, and no one wants to wait 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, you can get wealthy by working harder and by making more money, but guess what? It's easier to get wealthy by letting time do the heavy lifting.
And $50 a week. Like, I don't know about you, but $50 a week into shares, that is nothing compared to what else you spend $50 on these days. So set and forget, and then all of a sudden, 30, 40 years time, you'll be thanking yourself because it's actually so simple.
And this is literally just going into shares at 8%. This isn't talking about
wait till you get
getting
into
a property and leveraging and then having the compounding on that.
This is where diversifying your investments really sets the average from the wealthy. Like this, what sets them apart? Having these conversations, planning when you're younger, and doing a bit of both, because having diversification is the key. You don't want all your eggs in one basket in case something happens, but expanding your investments is the way you can build your wealth up, and obviously speak to professionals to assist with that. So don't just go in blindly, but this is a great start.
Well, the fun news is, if we're going to talk about compounding and leveraging and stuff like that, just as a quick example, we had a client well, two clients actually, because there's two properties that did it, but roughly 750K purchase price it was back in 2023. We're now 2025.
Oh,
They just got valued at $1.2 million, as you would have heard on the last podcast.
and probably on our Instagram page if you follow us.
Confirmed. Now, both of those clients did a 10% deposit. They bought the land separately, built afterwards. So the actual entry cost was only $89,000, give or take, including all fees. Now, that equates to, in 2 years, a 500% return on their investment. So 60% capital growth, but 500% return on their
That is
investment
awesome,
in 2
isn't
years. 250% a year. Wow.
That is wild.
So you can
That
use
is good numbers doing that one.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm going to
We-
tell them that.
Yeah, we haven't actually calculated those. That's elite.
Yeah,
talent.
I just wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So where does compounding occur? Superannuation, shares, property, debt, all of those different things. And realistically, there's a few mistakes to avoid, like,
pulling out
ignoring the
earlier.
small amounts, like we mentioned, pulling out early.
Especially if you got bills to pay, you're thinking you want to pull it out, chasing the high returns over being consistent at $50 a week or $100 a week,
Yep.
paying high fees that erode your compounding, and forgetting your
That's
reinvestment.
huge. That's huge in super, the high fees and road compounding. Like over the years, if you're getting charged a percentage-based fee, then
Yes.
guess what? As it compounds, you're getting charged more.
Speak to a professional.
Yes. So that's a
Speak to a professional.
realistically, that's a good enough breakdown. Like, we can go further into more tips and stuff, but I think you get the point. Like, there's no need. Next week, what we're going to be talking about is very fun as well, very simple. We understand now that you've got savings. We understand now you've got compounding. So we're going to move into doing leveraging and also saving your first 100K. So how do you save your first 100K, and then how do you leverage that and take advantage of step 1, saving, step 2, compounding, step 3, 100K, step 4, leverage. And then we'll come back for one on superannuation, the power of salary sacrifice,
We do
your
love
personal
super.
world set up.
That used to be our number one podcast as well back in the day, the superannuation explained.
Yes, everyone loves super.
Yeah.
But everyone, enjoy the episode. Do some calculations. Go to MoneySmart.
Get on the calc and play
compound
around.
interest calculator. Have a fiddle. It's always good. And enjoy it. Catch you next time.
Ciao.
Darling. Well, that is the end of the episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know exactly what to do.
Hit that follow button, like button, subscribe, share it to your friends, families, or even a co-worker.
If you're really feeling generous, you could send it off to an ex. But catch you next time. Hope you enjoyed it. Darling.
Ciao.